What up, everybody? Good morning and a happy Monday to you all. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available to stream online at sportstalk1051.com. Got your smart devices, smart speakers. Download the app, take it on the go. Plus, video streams are up and rolling: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch this morning. Hopefully, you all had a fantastic weekend, a good Easter weekend, and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. What do we got on the docket for a little? We've got a case of the Monday program coming at you. It is draft week. NFL draft week is finally here. It feels like it's been like, I don't know, long time in the making. It has been a long time in the making, probably especially for one Mark Murphy, Packers president, who's been trying to get this draft in Green Bay for years, and finally the week is here. But it feels like we've been talking about this for, gosh, how long now? And finally the week is here. And well, what are your, as we kind of count down to the start of the draft on Thursday in Green Bay, give me some bold Packers predictions, or whoever your favorite team is. Again, I know we got fans for other teams that tune in and chime into this program. So give me, on this rainy start, again, depending on where you are listening to us from, give me a bold take or a hot take on what your team is going to do in the first round of the draft. I didn't realize this either. I saw Adam Schefter post this little fun nugget yesterday regarding the draft and such. But this, now that the draft is, and this was yesterday, so this was 4 days away. This is the closest to the start of it that there has been no trades for first round picks. Montana trade came in 1993, came 5 days before the draft. This year has now surpassed that. So, yeah, it's been pretty darn quiet. And then you start to think about it a little bit, and you're like, okay, maybe we won't get a lot of trades. Now, I still feel like there's going to be some trades in the first round. You know, we don't know who's going to fall, and maybe that gets a team a little antsy to get that. If there is a quarterback potentially that falls, or maybe that quarterback, I don't know if it's like Jackson Dart or somebody, where maybe a team wants to jump in the back end of that first round to get him, because remember, it comes with that first round pick. You get that fifth year option where some teams may elect to jump back into that first round, maybe like a Cleveland, and pick up that quarterback because they get that extra year of control. Maybe sit them that first couple of years, but then they get that extra year of control. That may happen when you look at the back end of this draft, especially, maybe for teams who are sitting in that back end that want to accumulate a couple more picks and such. So, but give me your bold take or a hot take or whatever the heck you want to call it. What do you got for me when it comes to your favorite team for the draft coming up this week? So we'll talk plenty of draft and such, and hit up that. Brewers taking 2 out of 3 against the Athletics this weekend, and we got to see a couple debuts. Caleb Durbin getting his debut on Friday night. Dude nearly hit a home run in his first career at bat at the pro level there, but did collect a hit in his first career at bat. Actually collected a couple in his first nights, but that was cool to see. And then Logan Henderson making his debut as a starting pitcher yesterday, and boy, did he look impressive, striking out 9 over 6 frames in his debut. And that might not even be the lead story from yesterday's 14-1 victory for the Brewers. The Brewers stealing 6 bases in the first inning, 9 total in the game. Catcher struggling a little bit with his throws in the first inning for the A's, for the Athletics, but nonetheless, the Brewers were able to take advantage of that and capitalize on that and put up a big old 14-burger in that game yesterday to get the series win before the Brewers embark on a long road trip, which will start tonight taking on the San Francisco Giants in a 4-game series. Going to be a tough series here for the Brewers, but we'll talk some Brewers, recapping this past weekend, and looking ahead to this series with the Giants coming up again, starting right away tonight. It's going to be late games. First pitch around 8:40 tonight for the Brewers. We're going to get Quinn Priester on the mound for the Crew tonight. Jose Quintana scheduled to start on Tuesday. Freddie Peralta scheduled to start on Wednesday. And yes, Tobias Myers scheduled to start on Thursday for the Brewers. So getting another starter back into that rotation. Plenty of Brewers chats throughout this morning. We'll get to that. Not that good of a start for the Bucks for their postseason run. Game 1 falling to the Pacers 117-98. Giannis was doing his thing, though. 36 points, 12 rebounds, was just 8 of 15 from the charity stripe, but not getting a ton of help from anybody else on this ball club. No other starter was in double-figure scoring in that game. Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., and A.J. Green came off the bench and gave them some scoring. 14 for Trent Porter, 12, A.J. 15, but this is unacceptable from Kyle Kuzma in his performance in that game. 22 minutes. 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, zeros across the line, except for fouls, which he had 1 or 2, and then 1 turnover. 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from the charity stripe. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable performance. And then Bobby Portis coming off the bench, 25 minutes, 4 points. Did have 8 rebounds at least. But we need more. We need more. Maybe we'll get that with Damian Lillard. There's some thought he could be back for game 2 tomorrow against the Pacers. But come on, Kuzma and other guys. You got to help. You got to step it up. You cannot have an 0 for line. 0 points, 0 rebounds in a playoff game. Unacceptable. Bucks will try to even up the series and still steal home court with their game tomorrow night. Timberwolves, though, they got off to a good start for their playoff series against the Lakers, getting a 117-95 victory on Saturday. So they'll also be back in action coming up tomorrow night. Tonight's games, we've got just 2 of them. We got the Knicks taking on, I was going to say Tigers, Pistons, and then Denver taking on the Clippers. So we'll talk some hoops. Minnesota Wild falling in their first game of their Stanley Cup run, falling to the Vegas Golden Knights 4-2 last night. Also on the game plan for us this morning, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying your best. Fill in the blanks, their best ones. I'll read off on the air. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. What do you got for me? Hit me up. Text me on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. We'll also play a little crystal ball coming up a little bit later on this morning. So plenty of stuff to get on, to get to here this morning on the game plan. So let's jump right into it. We'll take our first break, and then we got the leadoff. We'll talk some Brewers, talk a little Logan Henderson. We'll talk about Caleb Durbin. Initial thoughts on those two making their debuts this past weekend. Also, we'll look ahead to the series against the Giants, a big-time series going up against the Giants. And a long road trip because we're not going to see the Brewers back in Milwaukee until May 2nd when they host the Chicago Cubs, the team that they're still chasing in the standings right now in the division. Cubbies sitting at 14-10, Brewers 12-10, 1 game back. So let's jump right into it. Plus, send me your NFL draft. Even if you don't have it for your team, maybe give me just an overall first round NFL draft, bold prediction, hot take, whatever you got. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be. You can make it team specific if you'd like. But if you just want to do a general draft one, maybe your bold prediction is, hey, no trades in the first round. That'd be kind of a bold prediction, right? Nobody swapping spots in the first round or trading out of the first to gain some extra picks. That'd be a bold prediction. But send those on over, all right? Those are just a couple of examples. All right, our first break, and then we'll get things going here this morning on the leadoff coming up in just a few minutes. Getting set for our draft coverage later on this week. We'll be doing programs, our show from Thursday and Friday from Green Bay. Thursday and Friday mornings from Green Bay in preparation for the draft. Plus, we got some other stuff that we're going to be doing throughout the day. So make sure you're following along on Facebook and Twitter/X, YouTube, and that stuff for some video blogs, some video interviews that'll be uploaded throughout the day on there. So make sure you follow that and never miss it. But a big thanks to our draft partners that are helping us get on over to Green Bay. That's Home Oasis. Big thanks to our partners at Home Oasis, AJM Automotive Services as well, and SC Swiderski. We're going to be taking the Mobile Man Cave over there. And a big thanks again to our Mobile Man Cave partners, Toyson Ford, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, Woods and Water Realty, The Elbow Room, and Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning. We'll open it up talking about the Brewers here. But send me your draft bold predictions, whether it's the NFL draft overall or maybe your favorite team. Okay, it could be one or the other. Whether it's your favorite team or maybe you got a bold prediction with the draft overall. Send those on over either on the texting line or comment on the video streams or hit me up on the socials here. But we'll begin talking a little Brewers because, well, this weekend we got to see a couple debuts and we got to see a lot of steals if you were watching or listening to the game yesterday. So let's go back to Friday nights when this series began with the Athletics. I still want to say the Oakland Athletics, and I'll probably still want to say the Oakland Athletics for a long time. But Freddie Peralta picking up his second win of the season in that 5-3 win for the Brewers. Going back to Friday night, the Athletics making it a little bit close, maybe making it a little bit nervous for some Brewers fans and the Brewers by putting up a couple runs there in the top of the ninth. But Trevor McGill able to come in and clean it up and shut it down after Hudson allowed a couple of earned runs. McGill able to get in there and pick up his second save, just a second save on the season. But the Brewers getting Freddie Peralta a little bit of an early run support with those 2 runs in the third inning. We had Jackson Churio collecting a hit, Yelich collecting a couple of hits as well, and Contreras continuing kind of a nice stretch here. And you look at Christian Yelich here too. Maybe that off day did do him some good. In his last 26 at-bats, he's got his average where he's been hitting 269, slugging 423 with an on-base percentage of a 345. So kind of getting back up there to some numbers that we expected from Christian Yelich. But yeah, so squeaking. And then Friday night was the debut of Caleb Durbin, who got a couple of hits. First hit almost looked like he was so close for his major league hit, his first major league hit to being a home run. So close. But then followed it up by an infield hit that he beat out because of his speed. I mean, that was kind of maybe the more typical Caleb Durbin hit. Going to be a little small ball, but really utilizing his speed. So got his first major league hit, actually got a couple hits in his major league debut. So Brewers starting off with that 5-3 win on Friday night, but they followed it up with a 3-1 loss on Saturday night. Chad Patrick in that game went 6 innings. He did pick up the loss, went 6 innings, giving up 2 earned runs, but he struck out 7. Gave up that home run too in 7 hits. Again, I would say didn't pitch like a pitcher that probably deserved the loss in that game. But the Brewers could only muster 3 hits against Luis Severino, who picked up his first win with the Athletics. And the dude was on 8 innings, giving up just 3 hits and 1 earned run. Only 1 K, only struck out 1 K, but defense behind him, and he was just getting the job done last time to pitch him on the Brewers or on Saturday night, and the Brewers just could not figure him out. But the Brewers bounced back yesterday with 14, count them, 14 total runs. And it was, where do we want to begin? Do we want to begin with Logan Henderson with his first career start because the dude looked awesome? Let's start off with the offense, though, where they put up 4 runs in the first, 6 steals in the first inning for the Brewers. They end up finishing with 9 overall, setting a club record. And not the greatest of days for a catcher. Really putting the pressure on the Athletics catcher. And, I mean, he was just he was trying. He was trying his best, but some errant throws and credit to the Brewers for putting pressure on him. But they were taking advantage of it and able to be aggressive on the base paths and able to put up a big old 4 spot and give Logan Henderson some early run support right away. In fact, the Brewers scoring in every inning in that game yesterday, except for the 5th and 8th inning, and they didn't need to go up to bat in the 9th. But 4 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, a couple in the 4th, 1 in the 6th, and then putting up 5 more in the 7th. So you had Hoskins with his 3rd home run of the season yesterday. You had Bryce Terang collecting a couple of hits. Cheerio with a couple of hits. Yelich with a couple of hits. Contreras, Hoskins with 3. Salak Frelick with 3. Joey Ortiz with a hit. Haas with a couple of hits. In fact, the only dude who didn't get credited with the hit, but he was on base, was Caleb Durbin. 16 total hits for the Brewers offense yesterday. They also had 7 walks. 7 walks. So, I mean, only 3 strikeouts from the team yesterday, too. Cheerio struck out once. Yelich struck out once. Contreras struck out once. Brewers overall struck out 14 A's batters yesterday. And Logan Henderson had 9 of them. Brewers just using 2 pitchers yesterday, too. Logan Henderson, in his debut, 6 innings, just giving up 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk. Was that solo shot Henderson gave up to Brown in the 5th inning, but 9 Ks, and then Tyler Alexander comes in, gives them 3 innings of work, just giving up 1 hit, and he struck out 5 as well. So, I mean, the narrative of this game, I mean, is probably a couple of things. It's Logan Henderson's fantastic debut, a guy that we've been hearing about a little bit, for the last couple of years. He comes in and looks fantastic. And then it's the Brewers being aggressive on the base pass yesterday and putting that pressure on the A's and giving Logan Henderson some run support. But, yeah, franchise record, 6 steals in 1 inning, and a franchise or a club record, 9 steals in 1 game. Bryce Terang had 3 of them. Sal Frelick had 2. And then Yelly, Contreras, Hoskins, and Caleb Durbin all credited with a steal. So now Brewers did what they were supposed to do this past weekend, win the series against the Oakland Athletics. At least take 2 out of 3 against the I said it, Oakland Athletics. At least take 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. They got that done. Job done. Mission accomplished. Because now this is going to be a tough road trip coming up here for the Crew. And it starts with 4 games against the Giants, with a Giants team that is off to a very good start. 14-8 so far on the season. And you look at tonight's game. Quinn Priester's going to be on the mound for the Brewers. Youngster who's off to a very solid start to his Brewers career. But it's another left-handed pitcher that the Brewers are going to be going up against, and he's undefeated so far this season. That's Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray 3-0, but he does have a 4.19 ERA. He's coming off of a no decision against the Phillies, where he pitched 4 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, 5 walks, but did strike out 8. The thing is, Robbie Ray's been struggling a little bit, even though he's picked up wins. he's been issuing quite a bit of walks, at least in his last 3 outings. You're talking about 5 walks. You're talking about against the Phillies, 4 against the Yankees, 5 against Seattle. So I'm looking at this as a game that Brewers hitters might want to be a little patient at the plate. Might want to be a little patient. He hasn't pitched. I mean, he's pitched 4 games. Okay, 4 games this year, but he hasn't pitched a ton of innings, just 19 and a third. All right. Just 19 and a third. You go back to March 30th, and he's pitched these 4 games, and he's 3-0 in them, but he's gone 5 and a third. 6 innings was the most he's ever gone, and that was back on the 5th against Seattle. Then 4, then 4. March 30th against Cincinnati, 5 and a third, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, a couple home runs, 4 strikeouts, picked up the win. Seattle, 6 innings, 1 earned run, picked up the win. Yankees, 4 innings, 1 earned run, picked up the win. And then this latest one against Philadelphia, 4 earned runs, 4 innings, no decision for him. And when you look at kind of the lineups going up against Robbie Ray, again, left-handed pitcher, so we kind of know what the lineup's going to look like, right? I mean, Bryce Ring's probably going to be batting in that last spot, flipping the lineup over. Not really a ton of experience with some of these Brewers hitters going up against Robbie Ray. Yelly has by the most, 11 career at-bats against him, and he has struggled. Lefty on lefty. So 11 career at-bats, just a 0.91 batting average against him. Hoskins is the next with 6 career at-bats, and he's just 167. Contreras has a couple at-bats, and he's over. So, again, not a ton. However, on the flip side here, we do have some Giants hitters who actually have more experience going up against Quinn Priester than what some Brewers hitters do going up against Robbie Ray. Willie Adames, for crying out loud, has 7 career at-bats against him. Nothing really to show for it. He's just 143 against him with a 286 OPS. Willie Adames has the most experience going up against Quinn Priester. Everybody else, it looks like it's about a game's worth. So you got more hitters with a little bit of experience against him, just not a ton of experience going up against him. But it is obviously the Brewers, one narrative that's going to be talked about, maybe more so heading into tonight's game, but it'll be a narrative throughout this series, is Willie Adames going up against his former ball club. What does Willie Adames have in store going up against his former team? So far this year, Willie just has 1 home run, 11 RBIs. He's hitting 202, 273 on base percentage. His OPS so far, 554. Now, those are numbers that are way below his career averages. We know that. Still fairly early in the season with where are we at here? We're kind of approaching the first month of the season. Yeah. So what? Opening day was March 27th. We're sitting here on April 21st. So we're approaching the first month of the season, and I would say it's fair to say Willie Adames probably off to a slow start in his Giants tenure. But you know he's going to want to put on a show against his former ball club. You know he's going to want to do that. You know he's going to want to, maybe kind of have these 4 games where he's just electric and putting up some astonishing numbers on the offensive side and then making some web gem defensive plays over there. I don't think there's any ill will towards Willie. I hope Brewers fans don't really have any ill will towards Willie for leaving in free agency. I think we all kind of assumed it was going to happen. So I don't think there's any bad blood, and I don't think there really should be any bad blood between Brewers fans, Brewers players against Willie and vice versa and such. I think Willie was probably, at least in recent history, a favorite player for a lot of Brewers fans. I mean, the energy was infectious. I mean, you could count on him always playing, practically playing every single day, right? Every single day. Wanted to play every single day. In an era where, you've got load management or off days. You have this guy that, remember last year, him and Contreras going in and convincing Pat Murphy, hey, don't give me an off day. Don't give us an off day. We want to play. We want to be in that lineup. In an era where you got guys that want off days or just rest days, these guys wanted to play every single day. They wanted to play 162 games in the regular season and then obviously playing every game in the postseason. Hate saying that, but that's rare. That's rare in this time frame or in this day and age. And that stinks to say that. So I still love Willie Downs. I hope he doesn't do any damage against his former ball club today. I really hope. But when looking a little bit further ahead into the series, when we look at these pitching matchups, Quinn Priester, Robbie Ray tonight. What else can Quinn Priester continue to stack success with these starts right now? I mean, because he's surpassed the expectations I had. I didn't really have high expectations for Quinn Priester, but I mean, he's been better than what I thought was going to happen with Quinn Priester. So can he continue to stack good games and stack that success and continue to put together quality starts? Then you got Jose Quintana on the mound tomorrow. Can he get to 3-0? Can he continue this really good start to his Brewers tenure? Then you got Freddie Peralta slated to get to start on Wednesday. And then Tobias Myers right now is slated to get to start on Thursday. So the starting rotation is starting to get into a little bit more of starting to get back into shape, right? Starting to get there with Tobias Myers coming back here. And the way Logan Henderson pitched and the way Quinn Priester has pitched. You know, Nestor Cortez is going to be coming back at some point, and Aaron Savali is going to be coming back at some point. The glass half full mindset here is going to be, man, Brewers might have a decent problem to have when those two veterans, Cortez and Aaron Savali, come back. How do you get innings with these guys? Right? Now, Priester and maybe a Logan Henderson, maybe they go to the bullpen, maybe they get some long relief options over there. I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to work out. But it usually tends to work out, right? Because look at when we were talking about in spring training, it's like, man, they got a lot of arms. How are they going to work out? Well, then it's like, boom, everybody was getting hurt, and then you didn't have arms. But I will say this, it's going to be interesting to look way into the future here. Let's just say Brewers playing well. They're in playoff contention. Pitching is healthy. Brandon Woodruff's back, and he looks good. Priester continues to pitch well. Logan Henderson continues to pitch well. You got the youngsters going in there. Tobias Myers is back. He's pitching well. Wouldn't shock me. Nestor Cortez, if he's healthy, and Aaron Savali, if he's healthy, if those two veterans all of a sudden become trade candidates to other teams, and maybe, just maybe, the Brewers can get maybe some more offensive help back in return. I think that is the best case outcome in this whole thing, is that these youngsters like Logan Henderson, Priester, those guys, heck, Chad Patrick, for crying out loud, if those guys, those youngsters continue to pitch incredibly well for this Brewers team, that makes Nestor Cortez and Aaron Savali expendable by the trade deadline, or maybe even sooner. Expendable, trading them to, because those guys are going to be free agents after this year. Get something in return for those veterans. Maybe some immediate offensive help, like at the corner or such, and then roll with the youngsters with Quintana and Peralta in the mixture too. That's the best case scenario. And then Brandon Woodruff, obviously. Hopefully he's pitching well too. So, but we're starting to get there with these pitchers. Starting to get there. We'll talk more about Tobias when we get to that game, but I'm definitely excited to see Tobias make his debut, and hopefully he kind of picks up where he left off last year, right? I mean, dude was probably the best starting pitcher for the Brewers from June on. So, all right, let's take our first break, or take our next break. We'll wrap up the first hour. Don't forget, send me your bold predictions when it comes to the NFL draft. It's draft week, baby. Spring is here, which means one thing, and that's turkey hunting season. So you've got your tags, you know the dates, you're heading out to the woods, but what's missing? Maybe it's that new turkey shotgun and some extra shells. Hey, it's time to hit up Tilden Gun, locally owned and operated. Tilden Gun has the best selection of firearms in the area and all at the best prices in the area. Their expert staff will help you find the hunting firearm that you want and that fits your price range. And if you're not a turkey hunter, but you're in the market for maybe a new deer rifle or such, they will help you find just what you're looking for. If you have a little left over from that tax return this season, purchase something for yourself this year because you know what? You deserve it, man. So give them a visit today at tildengun.com or check out their shop located at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. All right, that address again, 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls, or visit them online, tildengun.com. Brian with a message on the video stream here this morning. I have been impressed with these young Brewers pitchers. What I thought would be a rough start to the season has turned out to be better than expected. Our young pitchers of Patrick, Priester, and Henderson have looked good. And then Uribe in the bullpen. Could he be our setup man or even closer by the end of the year? We still have starters like Big Woo still not playing. Future is bright. Yeah, I mean, again, if Quinn Priester continues to pitch well, Logan Henderson, and then there's another dude in the minors that, I thought we would see at some point this year, and I still think we're going to see at some point this year, and he's going to be a starter, and that's Jacob Mizorowski. Maybe that gets delayed here a little bit. I don't know. I think Yoho obviously is going to be more of a bullpen guy coming in here, but I think best case scenario again for this Brewers pitching staff is that Quinn Priester, like tonight's and going forward, continues to pitch really well. Where he's like, "Hey, Brewers, you got to keep me in this rotation, man." They gave up a little bit for him too. So it's like you got to keep him in there. And Logan Henderson, I mean, the start that he had yesterday, you don't want to take him out. So you have those guys in there. Tobias Myers is coming back this week. Brandon Woodruff's going to be coming back at some point, probably in the next month. I think best case scenario for this Brewers team is like, okay, these young guys are pitching incredibly well. We want to keep them in this rotation. They've deserved to stay in this rotation for how well they're pitching. And that makes guys like Nestor Cortez and Aaron Savale maybe expendable. Trade candidates, maybe sending them over to a team that's looking for some veteran pitching, and maybe you can get some offensive help back, some immediate offensive help back. That to me would be best case scenario for this Brewers team. We'll see if it shakes out that way, but right now, you got to tip your cap to these pitchers who have been called upon earlier than what the Brewers expected, or maybe earlier than what the Brewers had wanted. But tip your cap to them that they have done a fantastic job so far. And, obviously with the Brewers making a trade that they probably weren't expecting at this point to acquire a guy like Quinn Priester. They obviously didn't think that they were going to have to do that probably back in March and such, but they had to. And right now he's been doing a really good job. And I think with him too, you're still looking for improvement from him. Getting him in with Chris Hook and the rest of the pitching coaches in the pitching lab there, and adjusting and continuing to refine his craft and tinker with it a little bit. So the fact that he's been pitching this well while still kind of, assessing and working with him, I think gives you some optimism going forward that this guy could maybe even be better moving ahead. And then you throw in, heck, DL Hall, who I think they still at this point view as a starter down the road. Maybe right now, though, whenever he is back, is going to be kind of coming out of the bullpen. Aaron Ashby is going to be more of a bullpen guy. Guys, right now, I think when you look at it long term, even maybe a little bit more into the immediate future. But right now, I think you've got to like the outlook of this Brewers pitching staff, the depth of it. Yeah, we're putting a lot on the shoulders of some of these youngsters and such, but early returns and just kind of forecasting it a little bit, how do you not kind of get excited when it comes to this Brewers pitching staff for the next few years. When you throw in a Mizorowski in here, who we haven't seen, but sky's the limit for him. What we saw from Logan Henderson, I know it's just one game, but how do you not get excited after one game? Priester's been good. Patrick's been good. Yeah, this pitching staff, I think, in the next few, Tobias Myers, for crying out loud, is still young. How do you not get excited for this staff moving forward? And this is something the Brewers are going to have to do in the current landscape of Major League Baseball. Count on young pitching, young, good, but also very important, cheap, controllable pitchers. Guys that, hey, maybe guys they can lock up, kind of like what they did with Freddie a few years ago. Long-term deal. Giving some money to a guy that's maybe not as proven, but you're hoping that he's going to outplay it. I think it's fair to say Freddie Peralta has outplayed that contract that he signed a few years ago. Brewers, I think that's the approach they got to take with these youngsters. They did it with Jackson Chiriot, but looking at this pitching staff and the guys that are in there, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that again with another pitcher or two. And, they did it with Ashby, but Ashby's been dealing with some injuries and such. Wouldn't be surprised if they try to do that with a couple of these other guys. Like a 6-year deal. You're giving some money up front right away for the guy, but you're hoping that he outplays it after a year or two. So I think right now that arrow is definitely trending upward when it comes to this Brewers pitching staff. They've battled. This team has battled through these injuries. Ask young guys to step up in big roles in the first month of the season. And, if you were to say that, all right, you're going to open up the season and you're going to lose Nestor Cortez after a couple starts, Aaron Savali after a half a game, and, Tobias Myers hasn't even started yet. Quintana didn't start till just, 2 weeks ago? And you're sitting here with a winning record, 12-10, game back in the division. Got the same amount of losses as the Cubbies. It's just they've got 2 more games under their belt. I think you take that. But I think this is going to be a big test for this team going on the road against the Giants. I think this is going to be a big one here for the Brewers. And I'm excited to see how they stack up. I'm really excited to see how they stack up against this NL West team. So, yeah, and I know they did slow down a little bit here too, but they got off to a fantastic hot start. That eventually they were gonna slow down here a little bit. I was looking at the power rankings here from MLB.com. They just released them. They got the Brewers at 15. Brewers have been ridiculously streaky this year with win streaks followed by losing streaks followed by winning streaks. But one guy has remained consistent, the same stud hitter he's always been, William Contreras. During his 11-game hitting streak that ended on Saturday, he put up a 341, 404, 610 line with 3 homers and 12 RBIs. 15, they dropped 4 spots. I don't know about 15th best team in Major League Baseball. I might have them a couple spots higher, but that's just me and maybe a little bit of a homer on that one. So, all right, coming up in a few minutes. Well, we'll got to wrap up the first hour here in a few minutes. So coming up next hour, we'll talk a little hoops. Bucks dropping game 1 against the Pacers. Giannis did his thing. He did pretty much all he could do. 36 points, 12 rebounds in the game. He just practically didn't get any help from anybody else, especially starters. Derry Bird came off the bench and hit 5 3-pointers to score 15. He was the second leading scorer for this Bucks team. You had 14 from Gary Trent Jr., 12 from Kevin Porter Jr. And that was it. Kyle Kuzma, unacceptable performance from him. 0 for 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. The only thing he had going for him was 1 turnover and 2 fouls. Unacceptable. Prince, another starter. 0 for, no points. Brooke Lopez, just 9 points. I mean, for crying out loud. The only starter for the Bucks in that game to play over 30 minutes was Giannis, and he played 38. The next closest player was Kevin Porter Jr. coming off the bench and playing 29. This is what I think worried a lot of Pacers or Bucks fans going up against the Pacers is just some matchup issues. Pacers give the Bucks a lot of matchup issues. They did a good job against Halliburton. I mean, he had a double-double, nearly a triple-double, but he just scored 10 points and he had 12 assists. It's just Pascal Siakam, they couldn't stop him. He had a lot of easy looks. Miles Turner had 19. I mean, so they did a decent job on Halliburton, but to Halliburton's credit, he was able to find the other dudes. Maybe we get Damian Lillard for game 2. That's kind of the thought. That's kind of the talk out there that we're going to get Damian Lillard for game 2, maybe game 3. Maybe game 3. That's what Shams from ESPN said the other day. He is expected to return to action in game 2 or game 3. We'll see how maybe this loss, because I feel like if the Bucks were able to get that win in game 1, then maybe we get them for game 3. But I'll be curious to see, with a loss now, do they throw them out there for game 2 to try to steal one on the road and not fall in an 0-2 hole? Bucks overall, too, just shot 24% from 3, shooting 67% from the charity stripe. So Pacers overall shot 52% from the field. Just 38% from 3. But, yeah, again, Turner and Pascal Siakam, they were having a game. Got to give them credit. So Timberwolves, though, they were able to pull off a win on the road against the Lakers. So they stole game 1, and now they have home court advantage. They'll be back in action tomorrow night as well. So, all right, about a minute left. Send me your bold takes, your draft bold takes or hot takes. It could be surrounding your favorite team. It could be the draft overall. But with draft week here, what are some of your bold takes? With just a couple days away from round 1 of the NFL draft. All right. Again, it can be regarding your favorite team or maybe just the draft overall. If you got any, send them over to. All right. I got a couple bold takes as we inch closer to the draft. But mention it a little bit earlier, too. There has so far not been a trade that has involved a first round pick. No movement in the first round. And this is the closest to the start of the draft, that there have been no trades for first-round picks. The Montana one in 93 was the closest prior because that trade came 5 days before the draft. But nothing, no movement so far. Is that kind of giving us a glimpse that maybe there won't be a lot of trades or any trades in the first round? Maybe that's a bold prediction or a hot take from you. Or maybe it's just kind of like, well, you look at it and maybe that tells you either the depth of certain positions in this draft or lack thereof. But what do you got? All right. I'm curious if you got any good, bold predictions to send me. Text them to me, 715-830-1912, or comment on the video streams or hit me up on the socials there too. So we'll get to that coming up in the next hour. 1 in, 2 more to go here. We got some news updates, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to kick off the second hour. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning of April 21st. A big thanks for making us a part of your start to a brand new work week here. It is NFL Draft Week. We are just days away now from the first round officially kicking off in Green Bay. So we'll be over there Thursday morning and Friday morning doing the program from Green Bay for the draft. So should be exciting. Curious to see how it all plays out. I'm really curious to see how it's going to work out with the city of Green Bay. I know they're talking about rain right now on Thursday, so please, weather gods, if you could just stop that from happening, that would be fantastic. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how the infrastructure is going to work in Green Bay with this. So, but we'll get there when we get there, and we won't know until it actually starts, right? But I got my mock draft done, my first round mock done. Did it yesterday. Did my Packers 7-round mock draft yesterday too, but not gonna go through it till Thursday when we're in Green Bay. Brandon and I are also gonna do uh, a Packers and Vikings mock where we use a draft simulator, and maybe we'll do some trades. Maybe we won't. We started that last year, so we're gonna do that from Green Bay uh, on Thursday too. So, but send me your bold predictions when it comes to this year's draft, whether it's for your favorite team or maybe just the draft overall. Send me your bold predictions or hot takes, however you want to phrase it, for regarding this year's draft. You can hit me up on the socials, comment on the video streams, or you can hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Hey, before we get going here on the second hour, don't forget to sign up your two-person team. I know, depending again where you're listening to us from, might be a little rainy and wet and probably not thinking about golf today, but sign up for your two-person team for the 5th annual Casper Classic being held at Lake Hallie Golf Course this year, Friday, August 1st. All you have to do is head to sportstalk1051.com, and it's right on the homepage there for just $90. That's for your whole two-person team. Two-person team is $90, not 90 per person, 90 for the whole team. Okay, we got 3 tee times set up: 7:30, 10, or 1. 7:30. That sign up's going to close on Memorial Day. So if you want to get in before maybe heading off to work or such for a quick 9, better sign up now. But this is our Backyard Dreams fundraiser, our biggest fundraiser there. So a big thanks to all of you who have signed up. We only got a few spots remaining for each tee time. So if you want to get your team in, you better do so now before it's too late. Interested in sponsoring, reach out to me, or interested in maybe donating a raffle prize, reach out to me as well. All right, let's talk a little draft as we are approaching. Just countdown is on, just a couple days away from the draft here in Green Bay. And now you've got rumors and rumblings and smoke screens and all that good stuff being floated out there on social media. So it's maybe a good time to stay away from social media when you want to look at rumors and rumblings and such, because let's face it. All right, unless you're probably like in the top few spots, if you're a team that's drafting in the teens or in the 20s, you're at the mercy of what everybody else is doing in front of you. So you're going to see reports and you're going to see rumors that this team, who's maybe drafting 26th, 24th, 20th, I don't know, 19th, is targeting this person. Well, great. They may be targeting that person. They're probably targeting a couple others. They don't know if that player is going to be available when they draft there, unless they're going to trade up. So, and right now, we've had no trades in the first round. None. Nothing. It's been quiet. It's been dead. But I think we have a good idea of who the top 3 are going to be. Maybe a little bit of uncertainty on who's going to actually be the second pick. We know Cam Ward, I think, unless there's a huge surprise, a la the whole Reggie Bush and Mario Williams draft, where everybody just kind of assumed that Houston was going to get Reggie Bush or draft Reggie Bush, and then all of a sudden, the day before, they draft Mario Williams, or they signed Mario Williams the day before, and then making it official that he was the first pick. So unless the Tennessee Titans pull off something like that, but Cam Ward's going to be the number 1 overall pick. I think it's safe to say the next two is going to be Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. It's just, will the Browns draft Travis Hunter number 2 or Abdul Carter number 2? So I think it's safe to say, or fair to assume, those are going to be your top 3. And then number 4, again, you got a lot of talk. Okay, it's the Patriots sitting there. A lot of assumptions. It's going to be an offensive line to give some protection to Drake May. You got Mike Vrabel over there in New England. He wants a physical team, wants to build a physical team. We know he loves to run the football. Well, they need some offensive line help. So, yeah, you've got that assumption. It's a fair assumption that they're going to draft an offensive lineman in with their first pick. We'll see if that actually happens or not. And then number 5, you've got Jacksonville. Okay, maybe defensive side with that. It's where a lot of people may be going with Mason Graham, defensive tackle, to go over to Jacksonville. The Raiders, a little bit more intrigue there, although Ashton Genty seems to be the most popular pick, the running back from Boise State, going over there. And, got a new head coach with Pete Carroll, bringing some swag to the Raiders. Tom Brady, how big of an influence is he going to have in that draft room as co-owner with the Raiders? Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator. They're going to give him some offensive weapons to work with. Could it be Shedeur Sanders, even though they signed Geno Smith? Could it actually be Shedeur going to the Raiders? He's got that relationship with Tom Brady. Pete Carroll's probably the coach that can handle the personality or all the limelight that would come with Shedeur Sanders, right? Jets, again, a lot of assumption is probably going to be offensive line with Aaron Glenn over there, coming from Detroit, where they spent a couple of years, a lot of draft inventory building up the offensive line to where they are one of the better offensive lines in football. Got to imagine he would like, even though he's a defensive-minded head coach, he'd like to do the same thing with the Jets, who have been struggling in the offensive line department for the last couple of years. Then you got Carolina coming in at number 8. Do you give Bryce Young some offensive weapons? Maybe try to improve that defense over there? I think the big uncertainty, though, for me when it comes to this draft, is it starts at number 9 with the Saints. That, to me, is where the biggest uncertainty kind of begins. Because, again, top 3, we know the players. Maybe there's a mixture up in order. Who knows? New England, I think we got a good idea. Although maybe they pull off a little bit of surprise and they draft a running back because, again, Mike Vrabel wants to run the football. But they may have to build up front first before they can do that. But you look at the Saints thing here and you throw in that kind of wrench that was thrown out there a couple weeks ago with the whole Derek Carr situation. That, all right, Derek Carr may not be available this year with the shoulder injury. Then it's like, oh, you got a new head coach with Kellen Moore. Now they may need a new quarterback. Could that be Shedeur Sanders if he's available? Could the Saints draft a quarterback, Jackson Dart, out of Mississippi at that spot? Maybe higher than what was originally assumed. But now with the Derek Carr news out there, could they draft a quarterback, or do they stay patient? Be like, we may not overreach for a quarterback. We're going to stay patient, and maybe we get some defensive help, or maybe we get a wide receiver to pair up with Chris Olave. To me, it's where at number 9 is where a lot of intrigue starts, especially if Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. Do they draft him there? Or does Shedeur Sanders fall? Is Shedeur Sanders going to fall in this draft? Or again, is this a narrative that's out there? Where teams are, because sometimes we see teams throw out narratives, throw something out there because maybe they got an eye or they really want this guy. So they'll throw something out there. to try to get that player to fall. So they're there for him, for that team. But I think for me, the most intriguing player in terms of like where the HE double hockey sticks is he going to go is going to be Shador. And that's going to be the talk throughout the telecast. I won't be watching the telecast, so I won't be able to listen to it. But I got to imagine if he gets by the Raiders, if Shador gets by the Raiders, that is going to be the constant talk. And that is going to be the constant, where is he going to go? Because if he gets by the Raiders, it's going to be the Saints. And then if he gets by the Saints, then it's going to be like, okay, is the team going to trade up for him? Or where does the fall end? Because it's not going to be the Bears who draft 10th. It's not going to be the 49ers. It's not going to be the Cowboys, although that would be just hilarious. Hilarious at 12. And if he's still there, they have, it's going to be talked about. But I would be surprised if it did. But man, it could be there. Colts, I don't think they would. The whole Anthony Richardson thing, and I don't think they would. Then they signed Daniel Jones. So Dolphins, no. Atlanta, no. Arizona, no. Bengals, no. Seattle, maybe. But they just locked up Sam Darnold for a big contract, but it wasn't a long-term deal. So maybe Green Bay, or not Green Bay. Tampa Bay, no. Denver, no. Then it's Pittsburgh. And then holy moly, are you just opening up a bigger can of worms, or not a can of worms, but storylines there. Does that mean they won't be bringing in Aaron? Or does that mean Aaron is mentoring Shedeur Sanders? Again, if there was a coach that could probably handle all the other stuff that comes with Shedeur, it's probably Mike Tomlin, and it's probably a culture like Pittsburgh too. So I mean, it just that fits, right? Fits. Doesn't mean that Aaron wouldn't go over there, but boy, that'd be something. And if Pittsburgh doesn't, and he's still there, then where does he go? Chargers? No. Packers? No. Vikings? No. Houston? No. Rams? Well, again, he'd have to sit, but they got a window now. But could they pull a Packers? Be like, all right, we only got a couple years left of Stafford. Maybe they draft the quarterback of the future with the Rams. I don't know. But what are your bold predictions? I got a couple of them. All right. A couple draft-related bold predictions or hot takes. Send them over to me right now. All right. I'll get you mine coming up after this quick break. Our good friends at VFW Post 305 are hosting a Kentucky Derby party Saturday, May 3rd at 4 p.m. Come and watch the race with the good peeps at VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue. There will be drink specials and food specials. Prizes for the top 3 Derby hats. So if you got yourself a good Derby hat, make sure you bring it along and wear it over there. You don't need to wear a hat, though, to come and enjoy the fun. It's always something going on at VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue. And then put this on your schedule, too. Saturday, May 10th, starting at 3 p.m., got a meat raffle going on at the VFW Post 305. Proceeds going to the Eau Claire American Legion baseball team. So, because there are many fees for families, and all proceeds will go to that worthy cause. Fun event for all, food and drink specials as well. Coaches will be working hard running the raffles. Vintage apparel will be available to purchase too. So 50-50 raffles also available to participate, and silent auction items too. So that's Saturday, May 10th, starting at 3 p.m. meat raffle at VFW Post 305, with the proceeds going to help the Eau Claire American Legion Baseball Club. All right. Let's do some drafts, bold takes, hot takes, and such. Jeremy a little bit earlier said, not sure how bold this is, but next year's draft will feature the same 3 teams as this year. Tennessee, Cleveland, and the Giants will be top 3. Maybe not order, but will be the same. Surveyor Sam says, hot takes. Sanders goes either first round, first pick. Oh, okay. We'll either go in the first round of the first pick or fall out of the first entirely. So either he's going number 1 overall or out of the first round entirely. Hot take from Surveyor Sam. Hot take. All right. So I got a couple bold ones here. So I know there's probably a lot of people getting tired of the Shedeur Sanders talk, and I'm kind of one of them too. But mine was related a little bit to Shedeur. I don't have him going out of the first round, but I do have him falling into the 20s. Now, I know there's some rumblings out there that he could now be the 3rd quarterback taken. I don't know if I necessarily buy that at this point, but I do have him falling down into the 20s. Not to tip my draft mock, my first round mock or anything like that, but I think he falls down in the 20s. So, and I don't know if that's really a bold prediction per se, but that's kind of where I'm at with him. So, another bold prediction. I do think we're going to have, at least for a year, that we don't have a lot. It's not a great quarterback group. Let's be real. This is not a great quarterback class. I would be curious, like, where would Cam Ward be drafted if he was in last year's draft, for example, right? In a fairly deep, or let's say if JJ McCarthy was in this year's draft, would he be the number 1 overall pick instead of Cam Ward? So this isn't the greatest draft class, but I do say, bold prediction, we are going to have, I want to say 4. I really, really want to say 4. But I'm going to go 3. I'll go 3. I'm going to go 3 quarterbacks are taken in the first round. I really wanted to say 4. I wanted to go there, but I don't know if I can be that bold. I think we're going to see maybe a couple teams panic a little. First of all, I think you're going to see a lot of movement. Well, first, let me go to my next bold prediction, and then I'll relate to this one. We're going to see less, bold prediction, we're going to see less than 2 or fewer trades in the first round of this draft. I think we're going to see 2 or fewer trades involving the first round. But that also means we are going to see a flurry, I feel, of trades in the second round. I think you're going to see a lot of teams trying to move up in the beginning of the second round to get some of those guys that maybe were left over from the first round. Maybe it's an edge rusher that fell, that a lot of people didn't expect to kind of fall, or maybe it's a wide receiver. Because I'll tell you, it did change, but I'll tell you, when I went through my first run of my mock yesterday, I only had 2 wide receivers in the first round. I only had 2. It changed. It changed after I looked at that, and I'm like, I don't know. But I don't think I'll throw another tease out there. I don't think there's going to be more than let's see. So I'm not okay, we'll count Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. We'll count him as a wide receiver in the corner. So Travis, I'm not saying the names out loud. I'm counting the ones that I had in my mock. I think we're going to see 3 wide receivers. Only 3 receivers taken in the first round. Bold prediction. 3 receivers taken in the first round. That's it. And that includes Travis Hunter in there. That's it. Because I think you are going to see a run on defensive linemen, edge rushers, and corners in this first round. I think that's where you're going to see teams trying to come out of this thing. Yes, there's some depth with the edge rushers, but I think you're going to see teams trying to make sure they get the cream of the crops, the top of these edge rushers, and it's going to push a lot of guys down. So that's, again, I don't know if you'd want to really call it a bold prediction here, but when you kind of go through some of the receivers that are going through your mind, yeah, I'm only going to say 3, and one of them includes Travis Hunter in that thing. So just 3 receivers taken in the first round. But I'm kind of setting up. I'm going to go back to the trade thing here. Again, this is the closest we have gotten to the first round without a trade. Without any trades involving first round picks. I just don't know where they're going to come unless somebody that nobody really expected to fall down is available. Like, for instance, I'll throw out an example. Let's say Tate, the wide receiver from Arizona, gets past New Orleans because he's been mocked there quite a bit. Let's say he gets past New Orleans. Heck, let's say he gets past Dallas at 12th. Then I wouldn't be surprised if you see maybe a team try to trade up and get him if they view him as the top receiver on the board besides Travis Hunter. Let's just remove Travis Hunter from all this. Let's say that teams view him as the top wide receiver. Then maybe if he gets past the Saints or the Cowboys, then maybe you get a trade up. Or maybe you get this insane run on receivers. Maybe you get a team that gets a little antsy and trades up. I don't think we're going to see a ton of trades. Maybe not any, to be honest with you. Now, I do think we're going to see, I'll say a bold prediction here. I think, now I didn't mock this in my mock because one year I did it. I don't like doing it because it's such a wild card. I did not mock any trades in the first round. Now, usually every year I would say there's going to be trades because there usually is. Play the odds. This year it's like, but I will say, bold prediction, I think the Browns trade back into the first round and get a quarterback. I don't think they draft one with their first overall pick, but I do think they trade back in. I'm going to go bold prediction, and they nab a quarterback at the back end. Because even though there may not be these quarterbacks that have quote-unquote first-round grades, you're going to see, I think, a team that doesn't necessarily have to play that quarterback right away, but they may have a need for a quarterback down the road. So they're going to draft him in the first round, maybe sit him for a year or two, but they have that fifth-year option. That's the key in a lot of this stuff where I think you're going to see teams trying to trade back into the first round towards the back. You know, Chiefs, okay? They're drafting at number 31. When you look at the Chiefs right now, okay, they got 8 current selections, but maybe they wanna add a couple more. Would it surprise anybody, the Chiefs at 31, they move back to what is it? What would it be? 33? 34, excuse me, where the Browns are. Maybe the Browns want to move up to 31, move up 3 spots. And I know some people are like, well, was it worth it to move up 3 spots to get that quarterback? The fifth-year option is something that these teams will look at. Will look at, especially when it comes to maybe a project player or that quarterback that, all right, we don't have to count on him to play right away. But we want to bring him into our system, see what, kind of mold him a little bit, and we have that extra year of control. That factors into some of these picks, especially at the back end. And we know the Chiefs aren't going to be looking for a quarterback. Maybe it's the Eagles who are drafting at 32, right? But they have a problem maybe just moving 2 spots back and maybe still even getting their guy. That fifth-year option is a key for a lot of the stuff for these players. I don't think we're, and maybe we get, I know that there's an A.J. Brown rumor out there. That's been out there for a while now. Like, okay, A.J. Brown maybe getting traded to the Patriots. Remember, it was, when he was first traded from the Titans to the Eagles, that was a draft day trade. Could it happen again with him maybe going to the Patriots? Because there's that connection. Patriots have a need for a wide receiver. Maybe they pair up Mike Vrabel with A.J. Brown again. But I don't think that would be a first-round trade coming over there. When it comes to Green Bay, I think my bold prediction or bold take, let's do this, bold take with this. Now, it doesn't mean that I necessarily have this in my mock. I will just say that. But I got a bold take when it comes to Green Bay. They only come away with this draft with 1 offensive lineman. I'll go with a bold take that they only come away with 1 offensive lineman in this draft. And it's kind of, I'd have to look at the averages and look at the numbers. I don't have that off the top of my head right now. But it's kind of a foregone conclusion, or it's just kind of maybe a tradition for a lot of people to assume that Green Bay is going to draft at least a couple of offensive linemen in this draft and bring them into the fray and all that. But I'm going to say they only draft 1 this year. They only draft 1 instead of maybe 2 or 3. And let's face it, that could be a risk too, because we've talked about it how many times when you look at what's coming up in the near future for Green Bay. Zach Tom's scheduled to be a free agent. I'd be surprised they let him go, but right now he is scheduled to be a free agent. Sean Ryan's scheduled to be a free agent. Rasheed Walker scheduled to be a free agent. So you do have some uncertainty in your future when it comes to offensive line. Now, last year they drafted a couple, so they kind of built up a little bit of depth last year. But still, it would be kind of weird for maybe Green Bay only to draft 1 offensive lineman. Will it happen? We'll see. But I will say, for my mock, now my first round mock, just to tease it again, I'm not saying it until Thursday. My first overall pick is probably not going to be met with a lot of enthusiasm from Packers fans. There may be even a couple because maybe he hasn't been talked about the most. And I will tell you that this was a mock that when I went through it, I struggled a little bit. I struggled a little bit to find that guy that I tried to get in the head of Goody. Tried to, kind of do some psychic powers and just try to, do some psychic connection with him and try to figure out where he was going to go. And I'm like, do I do I really try to do a wide receiver again for this year for a first round pick for Goody? Do I think he's going to do it? Do I think he's going to do defensive line, even though he's got 4 first round picks on there? Is it going to be another corner after signing Hobbs? Is it going to be a corner? Is it going to be offensive line? Is that one offensive lineman? If he only does one, is it going to be a first round pick? Edge rusher, I'm combining defensive tackles and edge rushers all as one under defensive line. But I will say this was a tough one to try to navigate. I feel good. If Green Bay drafted the guy that I have them mocked at, I would be okay with it. I think there's some stuff that he brings to the table that are pretty exciting. But I've got this feeling that there's going to be some or who involved with the pick, because it's not a name. Now, I will say we did talk about him in our potential prospect preview series. It was a little earlier on in the process, but we did talk about him. And it's the guy who I settled on. But you haven't really been hearing his name a whole lot lately. I should say, let me rephrase that. You haven't been hearing his name as much as some other people lately. He's been attached to Green Bay. But you might have to dig a little bit deeper to see some of that attachment, if that kind of makes sense. Bold prediction, I'm going to go 2 running backs in the first round. I'm going to go 2. Maybe that's not a big bold prediction there, but Ashton's the clear lock from Boise State. He is the clear lock. But could we see another running back squeak into the first round? Maybe a little bit higher than what some people initially thought. But I'm going to go 2 running backs in the first round. Now, that one I do have mocked. I can tell you that. What are some of the most, outside of Shedeur? Okay, let's move on from Shedeur. What are some of the other intriguing things? Again, it could be with your team or with the draft overall, or in biggest storylines heading into this draft. Player-wise, team-wise. What's intriguing you, or what are you kind of curious about to see how it all plays out? I'll tell you one that I'm really kind of curious to see how they go, and it's within the NFC North. That's the Bears. Because I honestly feel like if Ashton's there, I don't know if they can run to the podium quicker. I feel like that is their target. Number one. Maybe that's a team that tries to trade up to get Ashton and get their running back. And Ben Johnson's got his running back, like Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery and such that he had in Detroit. So maybe Chicago's a team that tries to trade up a few spots. Maybe they try to trade up ahead of the Raiders to get him. Maybe that's a first-round trade that's coming up. They'd have to trade with probably Jacksonville, or maybe it's New England so they can accumulate a few more picks. You know what? Let's make that a bold prediction. Chicago trades up in the top 5. I'm going to do it right now. I like that idea. I like that bold prediction. Chicago trades up in the top 5 to grab the running back from Boise State. If they don't, and he's not there when they select at 10, then it's like, okay, where do they go? Like, a lot of the thought process is they're going to get a tight end then. Pair up with Cole Kmet. Go with a little double tight end set in Chicago. Okay. We know that this offseason they invested a lot in their offensive line. Could they still go on the defensive side of the football and be like, okay, we look at the rest of our division here. We may still want some more defensive help to build up that defense, to give our defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, some weapons over there, some guys to work with. Maybe that's the route they go too. But I feel like The one team that I'm kind of intrigued about is the Bears in this one because they did have a very active offseason. They got the prized head coach candidate in the offseason. Now, what are they gonna do in draft? This is where I think more teams should do what the Bears did this offseason. I look at it from a sense like, okay, use free agency to fill some big holes. And then you can go into the draft and you have some more flexibility. Like if Chicago didn't acquire some offensive linemen in this offseason, then I think you're probably hearing more about, okay, Chicago's going to target offensive line help with their first pick. But Chicago went out there and got their offensive lineman, got some veteran help with their offensive line. Now they're in a position where they're like, okay, we have some flexibility. Maybe it is a running back. Maybe we could trade up and get a running back. Maybe it's a tight end. Maybe it's just more defensive help. This is where I think a lot of fan bases would like to see their teams, how they approach their offseason. Go into free agency, fill in your big holes. But then once you get to the draft, you have that flexibility where you're not quite pigeonholed to that one spot, to that one position. And credit to Chicago because this is a team that's drafting in the top 10. And it pains me to say this. This is a team that's drafting in the top 10, but they got some flexibility where they can go and maybe move up and get Ashton, or maybe stand pat and get the top tight end in the draft and give Caleb Williams another weapon. But when I look at teams that I'm kind of curious about to see where they're going to go with this thing or how do they approach that, Chicago's on there. I mentioned it earlier. The Saints to me are another team. Do they draft quarterback at 9? If they don't, then I feel like, okay, again, I said I wasn't going to bring him up, but if Shedeur is there and they don't, then how far does he fall? But if they don't go quarterback for the Saints, then where? Then what do they do? Do they go wide receiver even though they've got quarterback questions heading into this thing? Do they try to get another wide receiver to pair up with Olave? Kellen Moore's coming in. When he was with Dallas, what did he like to do? He liked to throw the ball off. But last year with Philly, Saquon, right? Running the football out. But he still had wide receivers. He had A.J. Brown. He had Devontae Smith and such. So how does the influence of Kellen Moore, this brand new head coach coming in, how does he influence what the Saints do with that 9th overall pick? Is it going to be on the offensive side with maybe some more offensive weapons for him to kind of tinker with his offensive game plan that he's going to be bringing in? Or do they find their quarterback of the future? Or do they go defense and still try to build up that defense? Or, we just talked about, is it offensive line help a little bit? So I look at I think there's some intrigue when we look at this draft order. 9, 10, you throw in the 49ers at 11. You look at the offseason that they've had. And they lost some dudes. I mean, they lost some guys in this thing. They could go a couple different routes. They traded Deebo Samuel. There's been talk about Brandon Ayuk. Could he be out? So do they look at a wide receiver? Or do they look at the defensive side? Another defensive, Robert Saleh's coming back. So do you give him some ballers on the defensive side? Do you give him a corner? Do you give him an edge rusher? Do you give him a linebacker? I need some defensive help. John Lynch, he's a safety. He's a defensive Hall of Famer. But Kyle Shanahan's still the guy in charge over there. Does he want another offensive weapon for Brock Purdy? Christian McCaffrey's getting up there in age. George Kittle's getting up there in age. Brandon Ayuk's coming off of an ACL. Then you got Dallas. Who the heck knows what the Joneses are going to do with their pick? They're going to go wide receiver to pair up with CeeDee Lamb, who they gave a monster contract to. Are they going to go on the defensive side? They play in a division where they've got Jaden Daniels running the show with the Commanders, the defending Super Bowl champs, the Eagles. They may need some defensive help. To me, the biggest intrigue of this draft is picks 9 through 12. 9 through 12. Because you can go, you know what? I'll even add Carolina to it. So we'll go 8 through 12. Because Carolina, I think you can make an argument. Okay, do you give Bryce Young some more help? Do you give him some more weapons? He's entering his third year. Dude got benched last year. Took it like a champ, came back, performed really well. Do you give him a wide receiver, a number one wide receiver potentially? Do you give that defense some much needed help? They were dead last in pass rush percentage last year. Do you go out and get one of those edge rushers? Maybe do you give Bryce Young more protection up front? So, yeah, I would throw Carolina in this too. 8 through 12 for this first round of the draft is where I'm intrigued with how things, what direction these teams can go, because you can make the case it's not one direction, it's not two directions, it's multiple directions that they can go. Whereas the top 7, I think we have a pretty solid idea of what they're going to do. Titans going to go quarterback. Cleveland's either going to get Carter or Hunter. Giants will get whoever Cleveland doesn't draft. I feel like New England's probably going to build up front in the trenches, offensive line. Jacksonville, defensive side. Raiders, probably the running back. Jets, I feel like offensive line. Aaron Glenn, I know is a defense-minded head coach, but the Jets have struggled with offensive line the last couple of years, and Aaron Glenn's coming from Detroit, where they have invested in their offensive line the last few years, and it has paid dividends for that team. 8 through 12, though, that to me is where the intrigue and where potentially the rest of the board kind of shapes up, depending on what those teams do. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll wrap up the second hour. Don't forget to send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Fill in the blanks. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Top ones, I'll read off on the air. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. You know what season it is? It's pothole season, man. And potholes mean loose debris on the road that kick up and hit that windshield, leaving a lovely crack in your windshield. It's happened to all of us. So now what? It's simple. Just give a call to the experts at Post Glass and Mirror, where their specialists will quickly repair chips and cracks to your windshield. You can trust the fine folks at Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls to get you back to safe driving by repairing that cracked windshield. Give them a call today at 715-229-3754 or simply visit them at postglassandmirror.com. All right, just a couple hours couple minutes left to the top of the hour here. So we'll get back some more Brewers talk too. Brewers coming off of a series win against the Athletics. We got to see a couple of debuts. Logan Henderson, Caleb Durbin. Caleb Durbin's debut was on Friday. We got to see Logan Henderson yesterday. So now they begin a long road trip that starts with a 4-game series, 4-game series against the Giants starting tonight. So, but pitching matchups are set. We get Quinn Priester, we get Jose Quintana, we get Freddie Peralta, and Tobias Myers. Tobias Myers slated to get the 4th game in this 4-game series with the Giants. So another starter coming back to the rotation for the Brewers. So we'll talk some more baseball coming up next hour. Bucks game 2 tomorrow. Timberwolves game 2 tomorrow. Timberwolves got a win on the road to take a 1-0 nothing lead over the Lakers. Bucks, everybody besides Giannis essentially forgot to show up. I don't want to say that to Derry Bird. Derry Bird hit 5 threes in that game, and at least they got some production off the bench from him and Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr. It was just everybody else. Looking at you, Kyle Kuzma, that kind of forgot to show up for game 1 for the Bucks on Saturday against the Pacers. So, but we'll talk some hoops coming up next hour too. Continue to send me your bold takes, your hot takes when it comes to the draft. Tim in the Cooley region says bold prediction: Cowboys draft Sanders. You know, I'll tell you, I kind of want that to happen because I want chaos. I want chaos when it involves the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to see that burn after giving Dak Prescott that huge contract. I want to see the Cowboys draft Shedeur Sanders. I want to see chaos. I want to see it happen because you know what's going to happen then. Deion's going to coach the team next year. Okay, Schottenheimer's going to get 1 year. Then anything short of a Super Bowl, Deion's going to coach it next year. Let's be real. All right, that's exactly what's going to happen. So just say, especially if they draft his other kid, Shiloh. Is it Shiloh? Yeah, Shiloh, like day 3. Maybe even a little bit higher than what some of the experts have out there saying. Like, I think he's like slated as a 7th round pick, maybe. So maybe Dallas drafts him in the 5th round. I mean, for crying out loud, if they get both the Sanders kids, just mark it in. Deion's going to coach them next year. All right. Excuse me. 2 in, 1 more to go. We got some news updates, and we'll be back. Talk some baseball. Looking ahead to game 1 of a 4-game series with Giants for the Brewers in just a couple minutes. Final hour on this Monday morning of April 21st. Appreciate you tuning in this morning as we start to wrap up our program here in the final hour. Coming up, we'll talk a little baseball with the Brewers beginning a 4-game series against the Giants, a big-time road trip coming up here for the Brewers. 4 games in San Francisco, then they're in St. Louis for 3. Off day coming up on April 28th on that Monday. Then they head on over to Chicago where they take on the White Sox before returning home starting on May 2nd with a 3-game series where they welcome the Chicago Cubs, a team that they are chasing right now in the division, 1 game back. Cubs sitting there at 14-10. Brewers sitting there at 12-10. So, we'll hit that up coming up here in just a little bit. Send me your, I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank best ones. I'll read off and say it on the air and such. We'll get to those coming up in just a little bit. We'll talk some more hoops too, with the Bucks falling in Game 1 against the Indiana Pacers. Game 2 scheduled for tomorrow night. Could we see Dame? Possibly Game 3. That's the report out there. Could be Game 2 or Game 3 for Damian Lillard to return to the lineup for the Bucks. That'd be a much needed boost. So, plus continue to also send me your draft bold predictions or bold takes. All right, for this year's draft. Send those puppies on over to me. Okay. All right, let's talk some more baseball here as wrapping up. We spent the whole first hour talking some Brewers and baseball and looking back at this weekend where they took 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. Got to see Caleb Durbin make his debut on Friday nights, where it looked like his first hit was so close to being a home run, but then maybe in the more typical Caleb Durbin fashion, infield hit that he legged out for a single. So he did get 2 hits total in his major league debut on Friday. And then yesterday we had Logan Henderson making his major league debut, and he ends up going 6 innings and striking out 9. The Brewers also with 6 steals in that first inning, 9 total in the entire game to pick up a 14-1 victory and to secure that series W. But now you look at, okay, Logan Henderson. We were talking a little bit about this pitching staff and how it's shaping up with some of these youngsters who have been asked to fill in some pivotal roles early on in this season as we approach the first month of this season. And I think it's setting up for some interesting decisions on the horizon for Matt Arnold and his Brewers front office. So they acquired Quinn Priester a couple weeks ago. His first couple starts, he's going to get his 3rd one tonight. Hopefully he can continue to stack success and stack these games and start to, I mean, the thing is with Quinn, he's been pitching well, but he's still tinkering with some stuff. Chris Hook is working with the pitching coach, working with him. And I still don't think we have seen the best of Quinn Priester yet. So arrow's trending upward with him. Chad Patrick has shown some really good stuff. And now we see Logan Henderson yesterday. And I think we assumed at some point this year, we may be even seeing Jacob Mizorowski. Tobias Myers is coming back for the 4th game of this series. Brandon Woodruff's coming back in the next month. Knock on wood, everybody, the main guys and the Freddies and those and the Quintanas and that are going to be healthy for this season. But Brewers might be in a situation where, okay, maybe they can deal a Nestor Cortez or an Aaron Savali and maybe get some more offensive help or something like that. Because I know it's putting a lot of eggs in one basket and using an incredibly small sample size in this thing. But I think if you're a Brewers fan, you have to be excited from what you've seen from some of these young pitchers so far. What you saw from Logan Henderson, his first career start. I don't know if Logan Henderson's going to go on to be a really, really, really good starting pitcher in this league, but our first glimpse, he looked pretty dang good yesterday. And if Quinn Priester can continue to do what he's doing, but elevate it a little bit more, all right. Okay, got him in the fold. Jacob Mizorowski is going to be a part of that plan at some point. There's 3. You throw in Freddie, there's 4. Tobias, hopefully he kind of picks up where he left off last year. That's 5. Throw in Woodruff at some point. That's 6. DL Hall's probably going to be coming out of the pen, but they still view him as a starter down the road. That's 7. I mean, they're going to have some options here. And then I didn't even mention Quintana for the rest of this year. So, I mean, guys, we potentially, knock on wood, hopefully there's no other major injuries. We're going to be in a situation where these young guys continue to pitch really well. I'd rather have the Brewers give those guys opportunities and going out there and pitching, and then maybe dealing Nestor Cortez and Aaron Savali a little bit later on this season because they're going to be free agents, and then you move on from some of their contracts and such too. So it's like, all right, maybe you can get in a third baseman, maybe another bat, or it's probably going to be a AAA guy, but building up that system too. So I think when you look at factoring in everything that has happened with this pitching staff to see where the Brewers are at right now, but also to get the glimpses and seeing what we have seen from Patrick and Logan Henderson in one game. And the Brewers probably didn't expect to have to go trade for Quinn Priester, a month and a half or 2 months ago, but to see what they've gotten with him so far. You got to be feeling really good, I think, for the future of this staff moving forward. And for a team that we know is not going to, blow the budget up and not going to spend a ton of money on pitching, to see the very, very, very early returns that we have seen so far from this pitching staff, I think has got to make you feel ooey and gooey inside and feel pretty good. Like, okay, pitching might be set for the next couple of years, few years here for the crew with these youngsters. And the name we're not even throwing out there yet, too, because we're not going to see him this year, is Robert Gasser. So I feel really good for the next couple of years, the next few years, when it comes to these young pitchers for the Brewers. I feel really good about it. I'm really excited about this. Now, I know I'm putting a lot of eggs in that basket. And I'm putting a lot on the shoulders of those young and inexperienced players. I get that. I understand that. But how do you not get excited from what we've seen in this small sample size and then just kind of have an eye towards the future here a little bit? Brewers need these guys to be big-time contributors too, and maybe some of these guys are going to get the Freddie Peralta treatment where you lock them up long-term. You maybe give them a little bit more money right away, or maybe they haven't quite pitched at that level, but gosh darn it, in a couple of years, it's going to look like a huge bargain. I'm feeling good with everybody starting to come back and be healthy, and the performance that we have seen from these youngsters. Man, how do you not potentially be excited about that for the next couple of years, for the now and the next couple of years with these youngsters? There's going to be growing pains. No question, there'll probably be some growing pains, and there's going to be some games where maybe that inexperience shows and they have a rough day at the office. It's going to happen. But early returns, man, I like what I'm seeing. Logan Henderson was fantastic yesterday in his debut. And I think you got to factor in, too, when you get these guys making their debuts, especially on a weekend at home, there's got to be so many butterflies rumbling in that stomach and rolling around in that stomach that to go out there and do kind of what he did, pretty darn impressive. When you look at these pitching matchups for this week for the Brewers going up against the Giants, you got Robbie Ray on the mound tonight for the Giants, another left-handed pitcher that the Brewer starters are going to have to be going up against. So I think we kind of have an idea of what that lineup's going to look like, right? Bryce Strang's probably going to be batting in that last spot to turn the lineup over. But Ray's 3-0, but he's got 4.19 ERA, and he's had a little issues with walks in these last couple games. So if I'm that Brewers lineup and I'm those hitters, initially I might try to be a little patient at the plate. Might see what he's got going here today, because if he's going to be a little bit all over the place, take those walks, take those free base runners, man. Go and do that. And then tomorrow, looking a little bit further ahead here, you got Jordan Hicks on the mound, and he's coming off of a loss, but he went 7 innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs in that game against the Philadelphia Phillies. So far this year, he's 1-2 with a 6.04 ERA. And Quintana's getting that start for the Brewers. Wednesday, you got Peralta going up against Logan Webb, which is a fantastic matchup between these two guys. And then Thursday is that Tobias Myers game. Be interesting to see him make his debut. How does he look? Because we're going to overanalyze it and scrutinize and critique his first start coming, his first debut this year. How does it look compared to last year? He was the best starting pitcher from like June on. Dude was awesome. Is he going to pick up where he left off from? Is he going to struggle a little bit? Is there going to be a pitch count on him, an innings restriction on him because they want to ease him on in? It's going to happen. We're going to overanalyze and scrutinize after one. That's what we do. But I'm looking forward to these next 4 starts from these pitchers from the Brewers. I really am because, in the middle, you've got Quintana and you've got Peralta. You're veterans of this staff so far. You're probably your top 2 pitchers right now mixed in there. And at the bookends, you've got Quinn Priester making his 3rd start for the Brewers, one of the youngsters who's new to the team. What else does he have in store? And then Tobias Myers' debut. This is going to be a really interesting 4 games here for the Brewers. And I know a Giants team that started off really hot. Really hot. They've kind of slowed down here a little bit, but playing the averages, right? They're 14-8 now. And when you look at it in that loaded NL West, but they're 4-2 at home. They've been pretty darn. They played a lot of games on the road. I didn't realize they played 16 games on the road already. Man, 4-2 at home so far. So I mean, this is just their 7th game at home so far this year. Is that the fewest? 6. Colorado's played 9. That might be the fewest games at home for Angels have only played 6 at home. Yeah. Cleveland's played 6 at home too. That one, I mean, okay. Beginning of the season, Cleveland, weather-wise, yeah. Maybe begin most of your games at home. Kind of interesting that 2 California teams, though, are right there with just 6 games at home to begin the season. I don't know. But Giants-wise, you look at it, plus or the run differential plus 30 so far on the season. They're just 5-5 in their last 10. Maybe the Brewers can take advantage of that. Brewers are also just 5-5 in their last 10 here too. So, but I'm excited to see where this pitching matchup kind of or how these pitchers are going to look for the Brewers in these next 4 games because you got a nice mixture. The 2 veterans in the middle, and then the bookends between Quinn Priester, and Tobias Myers for that final game. Yesterday too, outside of Logan Henderson, it's steals. You get a steal, he gets a steal, we all get a steal. 6 steals in the first inning for the Brewers, 9 overall. Bryce Terang had 3 of them for crying out loud. Brewers taking advantage of that and taking advantage of some errant throws from the Athletics trying to gun them out and such. But this is, I think, what we kind of wanted to see from the Brewers, right? Being aggressive on the base pass, taking advantage of that. And when you look at where they're at in major league levels because of that game yesterday with 9 steals, they have vaulted up to number 1 in Major League Baseball in team steals, 33. They're up to 33. Number 2 is Seattle. I will say that I think this surprises some people. It surprised me a little bit. But Craig Counsell's got his Cubs stealing too. They're number 3 at 31. In fact, you have 3 teams in the NL Central in the top 5. Milwaukee's number 1, Seattle. Then you got Chicago. And then Pittsburgh's number 4, 29. So, I mean, you've got 3 teams in the NL Central up there. The one when you look at it based off of last year and kind of seeing where they're at right now, Cincinnati's tied for 16th with just 16 steals so far. Player-wise, when you look at, let me bring up who's leading individually in steals. O'Neal Cruz is leading with 10. Okay, no big surprise there, right? Bryce Ring is tied for second with 8. Magnum from Tampa Bay's up there. Pete Crow Armstrong's also got 8. Then you got Ellie De La Cruz with 7. Sal Frelick tied with him with 7. So, I mean, Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick, top 2 on the Brewers right now with steals. It's the way it should be. I don't think we expect anything less than that. We'll see how often Caleb Durbin's going to be able to play and get some starts, because I feel like if he gets on base, he's going to start to get up there in terms of stolen bases with those numbers too. And going back to Sal Frelick here for a second, as we approach the first month of this season, Sal Frelick started off really well offensively. Right at one, I mean, we were at April 10th. No, let's go April 8th, and he was hitting 375. It's like, oh, but it's early. And it kind of came down. I mean, it got down to a point where it was, okay, that was April 8th. Then a week later, he's hitting 305. It's like, all right, he's coming back down to earth. He's now back up to a 342 after 3 hits yesterday. 3 hits yesterday. And he's currently riding a 2, 3, 4, 5 game hitting streak right now. But Sal Frelick may not be, I don't know what else I could say about this guy, how much I love watching Sal Frelick play. Small ball hitter, not going to give you a ton of power. He's only got 1 home run so far this year. But right now, when you look at what he's doing so far this season, he's a 342 hitter with an on base of a 432 and an OPS of a 906. And he's hitting in the middle of the order, middle of the lineup. Unique in that aspect that he's not a big power hitter, right? He's not a big power threat, but they've consistently put him like batting 5th or 6th in that lineup. And all the guy is doing is getting on base and getting hits and stealing some bases too. But it looked like maybe it's like, okay, kind of coming back down to earth when it got down to a 305, and now he's already back up to a 342 for crying out loud. In the month of April, if we take away the 4 games that he had in March where he was hitting 429, just alone in the month of April, he's hitting 323 with an on base of a 408. I love watching Sal Frelick play baseball. All right, we got to take a quick break. Continue to send me some bold predictions when it comes to the draft. Draft week's here. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Spring baseball, maybe even draft with some tailgating fever to it. Maybe you're going to the draft to do some tailgating over there too. If that's the case, you better hit up our good friends at Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire because you need to fire up those grills for some tailgate parties or backyard barbecues this spring with some brats from Mike's Star Market. Or maybe grab some snack sticks or beef strips for some road trip snacks over to Green Bay. Whether it's the Bloody Mary or the beer brats, Mike's Star Market has so many different options for you to choose from that you will easily be the talk of your tailgate party or neighborhood cookout. Celebrate the beginning of spring, baseball season, the draft this week by making a stop at Mike's Star Market, located on the west side of Eau Claire. Hey, speaking of maybe some snacks and some tailgate parties and such, and maybe getting some quick meals for baseball season, kind of like our family's getting ready for with baseball season right around the corner, Little League season right around the corner. We got to have some quick meal plans and such, and there's no better place to go for that than hitting up our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. When it comes to one-stop shopping, there's truly only one store in the Chippewa Valley that can carry that title belt title, and that's Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From grocery shopping and picking up some new team apparel in their sports shop. Hey, good. Maybe if you're heading over to Green Bay, pick up some Green Bay swag. Or maybe grabbing a beverage or some from their massive wine and spirits department. Hy-Vee has something for everyone. And if you want someone else to cook for the night, kind of again, those quick meals with Little League season, they got you covered with many different options from their food court. Then when you head out, don't forget to fill up your gas tank with the fuel perks that you earned by shopping at Hy-Vee. Shop smart, shop Hy-Vee. Already at the bottom of the hour here, as we are only halfway or half an hour away from wrapping up shop here this morning. A couple texts to catch up on regarding the Brewers. This is from Michael. Sorry, Mike. I just said Michael. But Mike says, agree with you with the young pitching. Really excited about what the future holds for these young arms in the Brewers system. Hopefully they can continue to trend upward, because if they do, we could have the makings of another solid starting core like we had with Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta. Another texter says this pitching staff deserves a ton of credit for doing the job that they have been doing with a lot of their veteran starters missing time. And a lot of that credit also should go to Chris Hook, the pitching coach, for getting these guys ready and prepared and playing at a high level. Yeah, I agree with you. That's from Dave on our texting line. I agree with you. Chris Hook, Chris Hook is so beloved within that franchise, within that team, and so well respected. Remember when Pat Murphy was named manager, and we heard that a lot of players were asking if Chris Hook was going to be staying around? Like that, he means that much to those players, but also to that franchise. He has done such a fantastic job with so many different pitchers that have come through that organization. I'll throw another guy in here too. I'll throw a couple guys. Let's give some credit to Contreras and Eric Haas. The guys behind the plate. Give credit to those guys too for last year, I thought Contreras deserved more attention for how he handled a lot of the pitchers that they had to go through. 17 different starters? Everybody was talking about the offense that he was providing, but look at the different pitchers that he had to handle last year too. And looking at this year too with some of the younger guys, but also bringing in some of the new older guys like a Quintana and such, and throwing Haas in there when he's getting his spot starts behind the plate. So credit also to these catchers for the job that they have been doing with some of these pitchers. They deserve that too. But you're right. Chris Hook deserves a ton of credit. I would also add on Contreras and Haas for how they've handled the pitching staff too. First pitch for tonight is going to be 8:40, so it's a late game. Don't forget, you can check it out by listening to the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Coverage will begin at about 8:10. All right, 8:10 tonight, pregame coverage. So we'll get Quinn Priester on the mound for the Brewers, and we get Robbie Ray, left-handed pitcher, another left-handed starting pitcher going for the Giants tonight. Hoops-wise, we had the NBA playoffs for the Bucks begin on Saturday, and it's kind of ugly from the get-go. But the Pacers getting a 117-98 victory. Giannis was doing his thing. Double-double, 36 points, 12 rebounds. But what's unacceptable from this game is the performance that was turned in from Kyle Kuzma. There is no way, especially when you have no Damian Lillard in your lineup, there is no way Kyle Kuzma should play 22 minutes and come away with 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, and 0 points. The only thing besides minutes where he had something tallied to his name was fouls. 2 of them. Didn't even have a turnover. Zeros across the board. Shot the ball 5 times, made none. Went to the free throw line twice, made none. That is unacceptable. That you cannot have in the postseason. For him to be the third option, the third guy, if you will, you cannot turn in a performance like that. That is unacceptable. Especially in a game when you don't have Damian Lillard. Even if you had Damian Lillard, that is still unacceptable. That was an unacceptable performance by him. There was a lot of unacceptable performances in this game. Derry Bird, 5 of 11 from 3. All of his points coming from 3, 15 points. That's kind of what I expect from Derry Bird, okay? Kevin Porter Jr. coming off the bench. He made most of his from the free throw line, 8 of 8 from the charity stripe. He finished with 12. Okay. Gary Trent Jr., 14 points off the bench. That was it, though. Besides Giannis's 36 points, those were your only other 3 players in double-figure scoring. That's it. It was an awful performance overall. We got Jericho Sims back. You know, you don't expect anything offensively. You expect the defensive side from him. But it was good to see him back. I'm trying to think of some positives in this thing, okay? But there really wasn't a whole lot. And I don't know if Dame's going to play game 2 or game 3. We're going to see Dame for the first time in one of those games, though. But even when he does come back, Kyle Kuzma needs to play better. Prince needs to play better. He was over. Lopez just had 9 points. Bobby Portis just had 4 points. He had 8 rebounds at least. But, I mean, he was 0 for 4 from 3 and just 2 of 8 from the field overall. Giannis, literally, this might have been the proof, can't do it by himself. I expect a better performance. Now, I sound like a parent here. But I expect a better performance, especially from Kyle Kuzma. You make that deal. Not saying Middleton would have been bygones better, but I feel like Middleton would have at least contributed in some sort of fashion in this game if he was in the roster. But you have got to provide something in the postseason if you're Kyle Kuzma. Because that's unacceptable. Still, if the Bucks can take game 2 tomorrow, if they can get that win tomorrow, steal it from Indiana and steal home court advantage and get the series back to Milwaukee, they're in a driver's seat. But what that game yesterday showed too is what makes Bucks fans nervous and has made Bucks fans nervous about this matchup for the longest time is just that the Pacers provide so many different mismatches for this Bucks team. Like the Bucks overall did a decent job on Tyrese Halliburton. Okay, he didn't go off in this game. He was just 3 of 13. He was 0 from 3. Only 10 points. But the thing is, Halliburton was able to find the open guy. He was able to find others. He dished it out 12 times, but the Bucks did not do a good job on Siakam. They did not do a good job on Turner and those guys. Andrew. They didn't do a good job on those guys. So they did a decent job on slowing down Halliburton from the offense side, but a credit to Tyrese, he found the other dudes. And he was able to give those guys the rock, and they were able to take advantage of this. Look at this from a plus-negative standpoint. Tyrese was a plus 27. Siakam was a plus 28. Miles Turner was a plus 24. Andrew was a plus 28. Nesmith was a plus 8. Every starter for the Pacers had a positive rating, net rating. Nobody on the Bucks, no starter on the Bucks had a positive net rating. The only guy for the Bucks that had a positive net rating that played more than 1 minute was Jericho Sims, and he had a plus 3. Excuse me, Jericho Sims and Bobby Portis plus 3. Livingston had a plus 2. He played 1 minute. Andre Jackson Jr. had a plus 2. He played 1 minute. Didn't do anything. It was 0 for 1 from 3. Okay. I'm expecting a better performance from the Bucks coming tomorrow night, regardless if Dame is playing or not. I hope Dame is playing, especially now with Dame and Tyrese chatting it up a little bit, doing a little trash talking during a timeout, which, again, shouldn't be expected. That shouldn't surprise anybody. These two teams, this is a rivalry. I know we were talking about it last week. This is just kind of naturally developed into a rivalry, which I think are kind of some of the best rivalries when they just naturally happen. And it's just kind of naturally progressed to this where these two teams don't like each other. They don't. I mean, there was at times in that game too where it was physical. You know, Giannis going right into the chest of Turner. Turner, what does he do the next play? Goes down the court. I mean, just a monster dunk. I mean, Tyrese has issues with the Bucks. I don't know if it's just because he's a state kid and it's a little bit of a personal rivalry sort of thing. These guys, a lot of these guys don't care for each other. This is a rival. This is a rivalry, and I'm good with it. I love rivalries in sports, but also it adds a little bit more stress to the situation because I don't want to lose to the Pacers again. So I want to win tomorrow and take that home court advantage away. All right, we got to take our final break. We got some picks. We'll do some baseball picks. We got a couple of playoff games tonight, just 2 of them. Timberwolves, though, should note, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, too. They did steal home court. They got an impressive win over the weekend, going into La La Land, where everybody's so high on the Lakers. Lakers in 5, Lakers in 5, Lakers going to the finals, yada, 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 boo, boo, boo. Thank you, Timberwolves, for going in there and shutting it down. Although now, I don't know, maybe some of the national shows out there are going to be running with the narrative, what's wrong with the Lakers, instead of just giving credit to the Timberwolves and giving credit to Anthony Edwards and company for going in there and getting a win. It's probably going to be a narrative that's flipped around, and it wasn't the Timberwolves that won it. It's what's wrong with the Lakers. But thank you to the Timberwolves for knocking them down a peg, and I really, really, really hope the Timberwolves can knock them out of the playoffs. But again, that's not going to be the talk. The talk's going to center around what happened to the Lakers. What did the Lakers do? What did they do wrong? Right? So, all right, we got to take a quick break. We'll have some picks coming up here. We'll do some baseball picks, all that fun stuff. Throw in a couple hoops picks. Stanley Cup, Minnesota Wild also falling last night against the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll make some of those picks too. All right, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Spring sports season is here, and whether you are a high school or college athlete or a weekend warrior trying to get ready for some summer tournaments or maybe even your golf league, you shouldn't let pain hold you back from enjoying your favorite activities this season. That's why you should make your appointment today with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Their team will help you get back on the field of play so that you can enjoy your favorite activities pain-free. So set up your appointment by visiting cvosm.com today. All right, let's do some picks brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. So get out if you're looking for maybe somewhere to catch some of these games and such. You can head on over to the Elbow Room and watch a little baseball, maybe watch a little postseason action, or maybe if you're staying in town and you're waiting to or watching the draft in town here, you can head on over to the Elbow Room. Let's start off with, well, we only got a couple of NBA playoff games tonight. Detroit taking on the Knicks. The Knicks with the win in game one. I'm going to roll with the Knicks tonight. So we got Clippers taking on the Nuggets. I'm going to go with the Clippers to even up the series at 1 apiece. So those are just 2 games on the docket for the NBA playoffs. We've got 4 games on the docket for the Stanley Cup. Let's go Montreal taking on the Capitals of Washington. I'm going to go with the Capitals to get game 1. We've got St. Louis taking on Winnipeg. Winnipeg leads that series 1-0, and I am going to roll with the Winnipeg Jets to pick up a game 2 victory to take a 2-0 lead in this series. Colorado takes on the Stars of Dallas. I'm going to go Dallas to even up this series. I'm going to say Dallas evens it up 1 apiece. Edmonton taking on the Kings of Los Angeles. You know what? Game 1, I'm going to go Edmonton. Why not? I'm going to go with the Oilers to pick up that win. Let's do some baseball picks for today. We've got the White Sox visiting the Red Sox. I'm going to go with Boston today. The Yankees taking on the Guardians of Cleveland in Cleveland, Clark Schmidt and Gavin Williams. I'm going to go with Cleveland. I'm going to ride with the Guardians today. Let's go Cincinnati at Miami. I'll roll with the Reds. We've got Padres visiting the Tigers. Interesting one here. I'm going to go Tigers. I'll go Tigers. Let's go Philly taking on the Mets. I'm going to roll with I'm going to go Philly. I'm going to go Philly in this one. Cardinals taking on the Braves. Ooh. Fetty versus Schwellenbach. I'll go Braves. Let's go Toronto at Houston. Oh, Houston in this one. Brewers taking on the Giants. Priester versus Robbie Ray. You know, it's a left-handed pitcher. I know Robbie Ray's 3-0, but if you really break it down, I'm going to go Brewers. I think Brewers get game 1 tonight. Game 1. So let's go, baby. First pitch for tonight's game, I think I said 8:40. It's actually 8:45. But coverage still begins at 8:10. You can listen to it right here on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. All right, those are your picks brought to you by the Elbow Room. Only got a couple minutes left here. Let's go over some text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with some bold predictions and such. Bold prediction from Eric. Eric says, bold prediction. The Vikings trade their first-round pick and out of the first round to accumulate more picks. Another bold prediction from this is from Chris. Bold prediction, kind of on the same wavelength here, but different team. He's predicting that the Packers will trade their first-round pick and trade out of the first round. We got another. I don't have a name for this one, but bold prediction: 4 quarterbacks are taken in the first round. Another bold prediction. This is from Dave. Dave is saying he's going to go with 4 running backs. All right, 4 running backs taken in the first round. Another bold prediction from Chad. He says Shedeur Sanders falls all the way to the late 20s or early 30s. All right, I like it. Bold predictions. Okay. Illini Greg, it's game draft week. Let's get fired up. Again, big thanks to Illini Greg and his friends for letting us broadcast in the backyard of their house that faces the draft stage for Thursday and Friday. So a big thanks to Illini, Greg, and his crew for letting us hang out over there. And yeah, we'll have perfect view of that draft stage over there. So a big thanks to those guys. Save me a parking spot though, Greg, please. So that's the one thing I'm really nervous about. And please don't rain. I know they're calling for some rain. Just don't rain. Heart the skies. Don't rain. Just save it for the weekend. I'm sorry if anybody's going Saturday. Just save it for the weekend. Okay? Just go rain over there. All right. What else do we got? A couple more texts here regarding the Brewers. This is from Jake. Jake says it's been a lot of fun watching these young pitchers that a lot of us didn't know about stepping in and filling in big time for the crew. Definitely exciting to see the future with this young starting staff move forward. Another text here from John with the Brewers saying, I'll admit, I was pretty down on the Brewers after the opening series, and with all the injuries, I thought it was going to be a down year, but so far, Pat Murphy and these guys have hung in there and are still right in the thick of it. Curious to see how this team does on this long and tough road trip. If they can come away with a winning record, that is a huge win coming back to Milwaukee with a big series against the Cubbies. Yeah, Brewers, long road trip, 4 games with the Giants, 3 games with the Cardinals, 3 games with the White Sox before returning home May 2nd to welcome those Cubbies. The Chicago Cubs, who the Brewers are chasing right now in the division. 14-10 Cubs, Brewers 12-10. So, all right. Coming up tomorrow is a little Grind My Gears Tuesday, a little Toyson Ford Grind My Gears Tuesday. So think about what's been kind of grinding your gears, what's been bugging you, and you got to get it off your chest. All right. Think about that for a little bit, and let us know tomorrow as part of our Toyson Ford Grind My Gears Tuesday. So we'll hit that up. We'll talk to RJ Cardinal. Tomorrow we'll talk some Badgers with him. I know Badgers offensive lineman starting left tackle towards ACL and such, so big loss for the Badgers there. Also, though, coming up tomorrow at 8:05, we continue talking some NFL draft from NFL.com. Chad Reuter will be joining us at 8:05. Chad, been on our program before a few times. Wisconsin native, UW Eau Claire alum. But Chad, you've probably seen his like 7-round mock drafts on NFL.com and such. But Chad's kind enough to join us tomorrow at 8:05 to talk a little draft and such. So looking forward to catching up with him again as we continue catching up with other draft analysts through this week, either on the phone or in person when we're over in Green Bay for our draft coverage coming up on Thursday and Friday. So that'll be at 8:05 right before we catch up with Mr. RJ Cardinal tomorrow. Hopefully we're talking about a Brewers win, starting off this 4-game series with the Giants, hopefully talking about a win right away. Also, we'll preview Bucks Pacers game 2. Maybe we'll have an idea whether Damian Lillard's going to be playing in this game or not by the time we're back on the air tomorrow. But we'll preview that and break it down and such too. And then any more draft fodder as we inch closer. A lot of smoke screens, a lot of misdirection, and maybe even some reports out there that really aren't reports, but trying to get people to go one direction and try to fake out everybody and fake out other teams and that. So whatever you hear in the next couple of days on social media, maybe take it with a little bit of grain of salt. Okay? Might just be a lot of smoke screens out there. Especially since we've gotten no trades yet in the first round. Maybe we won't have any trades. That was a couple people's bold predictions, that we will not see a trade in the first round of the draft. A couple people did chime in on that one. So we'll see. It hasn't happened yet, and it's the closest we've gotten to a draft without a first-round trade, without a trade involving a first-round pick. So I don't know. It's been pretty maybe that's kind of why it feels like it's been a little quiet heading into this, because there hasn't been any movement. I don't know. All right, DP Dennis are up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Monday. We're back at it again tomorrow morning, second to last show in studio before we're off to Green Bay, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.